Rolling. Editing if we need to, which I don't think we will.
Listen,
Oh yeah, I need to play
I
this.
don't want to have kids.
The clap was
ever.
supposed to get it
Like, I don't want to have kids ever. Because, like, have you guys been outside? It's a nightmare out there. And I don't want to, like, have children
hate
on
this.
top.
You already hate it?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm watching myself on video.
So you saw this as like a challenge? You were like, oh, I'm going to challenge this. And oh, never mind.
No, I didn't. I wasn't. I don't think I was thinking about it like that. It's more just like, oh, I'm annoying as hell. Listen to my voice. This is what I sound like all the time.
And the kid is like wilding out. They're like freaking out about whatever the fuck kids freak. I want a Power Ranger toy. That's old. That's old. They don't say that anymore. I want. I don't know. Fucking. Who cares?
Yeah, that wasn't even in the joke. No, not really.
I can't imagine.
I was very riffy during this.
Was freaking out because like I am not invested enough in the prospect of being
a giant television.
To like keep a kid. That's
It's a giant what?
Television.
Oh yeah. For YouTube videos, it's kind of excessive. I know. I have no problem with excess here.
You can't jump off of and then just leave. Never come back. Like that's not how you are a parent, right?
I get the feeling you've wanted to see someone do that to their kid in a grocery store or something.
I mean, it's not that I've wanted to see someone do it. It's that I think that that's what I would do. Like, I don't understand how anybody doesn't. Because it's like, kids are, I don't know, they're the worst.
We all just are here one day. Do you guys know that nobody consents to being alive? Like, you didn't consent to this. Like, one day you're just here, and you have to do it right, or people yell at you. And I do that bullshit. Like, I'm doing this for the first time ever. You know what I mean? Not fair.
This is stressful.
Right?
Everything's so hard, too. Like, life is very painful.
No, that's the perspective of someone who definitely wants to be left alone. Like that's.
I mean, it's not that I want to be left alone so much as it's just like,
Really dope sex, and that's fun.
I just find that there's a lot of annoyance in the day-to-day struggle of being an adult and then having everybody else act like they don't understand that. It's like, you are also doing this. I know you're also struggling because nobody's having like an easy time out here.
Yeah.
Even like the richest people are like struggling with some kind of bullshit.
It's like, I got the wealth. How do I keep it? How do I keep it? I have no idea. How did I get rich? I have no idea.
I'm so mad at them. Like, I'm so mad.
So it's like, I just want to talk about it all the time and nobody ever seems to really want to.
It's like, you're on the same footing as I am, right?
That's where, yeah.
But I'm realizing now it's not their fault.
And not in a Fox News way.
Where
Where they don't acknowledge that class or privilege or anything exists.
Oh, right.
Which was...
I mean, but that's a part of it, right? 'Cause a lot of people don't do that. So this thing is like blowing. I'm like sweaty, and so it's like blowing directly onto this shirt that is sweaty, and so it's making me feel like very cold.
Oh, do you want me to turn it down, or is it good?
Fan split. Yeah.
But it's not like they didn't like plan what my life was going to be like, right? Like they just got horny and then they had sex and then they made me, right? Like, that's
I don't know why people laughed at that part.
statistically speaking.
Well, because you don't want to think about your parents having sex or doing anything.
Right.
Mediocre sex and made a depressed person.
I fucking love that line so much.
Mediocre sex and made a depressed person. Yeah, people like it when I say like wordy sentences like that.
But it's so poignant. Like, you have the awkwardness of, oh, my parents fucked, and then it's also like, but it wasn't that great. Like, my birth wasn't spectacular.
Yeah,
like,
that's the fucked up thing, is that like everybody's exceptionalism and all of our parents like notion of like how to raise kids, especially kids our age, is this notion of like, well, you were such a miracle. You were such a special birth.
Yeah.
You were such a special person. You're so unique. Everything. It was like, no, man. Like,
I'm the same person as everybody else. Like, I'm the same.
Yeah, getting pregnant and having kids is like, everybody does that. Like, everybody does it. It's actually super, super, super common. Why are we pretending that it's like, whatever? But it's always like, when you take a step back and actually look at what happened, you probably weren't your parents' like the night you were conceived was probably not like the night of their best, the best night of their sex life, you know, as an adult. It just probably wasn't. They probably were trying to have you if you were like in the best of circumstances. They were trying to have you, which means they had like a regimented like we're gonna have sex every day this week because you're ovulating, and that's like what we're gonna do. You know what I mean?
My friends' kids, and they were like, I have an Xbox in my house, and we were drinking at a party, and the kids were there, and I was playing a thing. I was watching a thing on TV on my Xbox, and they were like, hey, we want to play this game on your Xbox. So what if we took a vote? It was like 6 kids and me. And they were like, what if we took a vote? And if by majority rule, you have to let us use
This
your
isn't
Xbox
even a joke.
video
It's
game.
just
This is not a democracy. Like, this is
But this reminds me so much of being a kid and going to like a friend of the family's house, and it's like you're trying to, you know, watch the big TV, or you're trying to like do something you're not supposed. They don't want you to touch their collection of action figures or whatever or something. You know, it's like they have something and you want to get to it, and then you try to wheedle your way in.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
But this is completely from the other perspective of like, no, fuck you, I live here.
it's actually pretty wild, like to have friends with kids who are like old enough to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times you see your friends' kids right after they have a kid. And then for the most part, you're not really hanging out with their kids. But I lived with some people. I lived with a person who had a 4-year-old, and also his friends all had like 8, 9-year-old kids. And they were the kind of people who still like, they drank, they like had dinner parties, they did stuff, they were performers. And so they wouldn't like just be at home every night. Like, at 6 p.m. I gotta go home, make dinner for the kids. Like they would bring the kids over, and so I ended up hanging out with all these kids a lot, and it was an interesting experience. That story being one of many where they tried to railroad me, and I'm the only person who talks to them like an adult.
I am. I'm an anxious person. And I think it's weird that we don't want to talk about it.
It's like, no, you're not. You don't get to just have my shit because you want it.
Because your parents let you.
Oh, their parents don't even let them. That's the thing. They just thought they could railroad me because their parents were getting drunk in the other room.
Got it.
Talk about my anxiety or depression. Like if I talk about it, people get like upset. And it's like, oh,
This is what this is kind of the joke that is where that notion comes from, where I'm saying like,
walk away from me, okay? Is it Stranger Things? I haven't started that one yet.
like I think it's weird that nobody wants to talk about it because everybody's dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. I see people thinking about like mental health and stuff like that. I think I'm like more attuned to just like seeing people on the precipice of that shit. Like I was on the train platform recently.
I did not realize this set was this long.
But you had to tell the stories.
Yeah, I mean it was my fucking birthday, so there's at least that part.
Do
But
the birthday set.
And everybody else did what
Although I forgot, when I watched this again after editing it down, I noticed that you do reference the cupcake that you ate at the beginning. And I'm like, so much chocolate. And I was like, oh, people aren't going to get it. But
yeah, that's not a big deal. I ate a cupcake at the beginning of the set, y'all. And then, because it was my birthday, it was my motherfucking birthday, and somebody brought me cupcakes, and I ate one right beforehand, thinking I could just shove it in my mouth and then go on stage. And it was like super rich. It was like covered with a lot of frosting. It was like an inch of frosting on the top, and I didn't notice.
I have yet to see something like that, though. Like I've seen, like you said, people usually just look disgruntled, or someone says like, fuck this. But I've never seen somebody freak the fuck out.
I mean, I think you probably see people freak out on the train before, but it's like very easy. The easiest thing you want to do there is just to ignore them altogether, because it's usually just somebody who's like an obviously cracked out person.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's like obviously beyond like you reaching them. You know what I mean? Mentally, they're in a place where they can't be reached, and so you're just like you can either stay a safe distance from them or ignore them. But like it's rare when you see a person who is like otherwise looks normal break down. in real time. That's the thing that made that story on the train was so weird. And the funny part about that was like I wasn't alone when that happened. It was so great. I was with a person who was a girlfriend of mine. She's an ex-girlfriend, but she was even an ex at that point. But we worked at the same place, so we happened to be on the train at the same time.
Yeah.
And she saw all that happening, and she was like, "Wow, this is like really like this is the kind of stuff that you usually talk about happening." And I thought it was like fake. I was like, "Yeah, dude, this is what it's like. This is why I say that. Like, I feel like I'm attuned to like seeing crazy people right at the moment of their breakdown."
It's like you were here at the conception of the bit.
You saw it. Yeah, she saw it. It really happened.
So you know that one of the times that you take that shoe off or put that shoe on, you're gonna accidentally pull that shoestring out of the hole.
It was very weird that you were choosing to like do a slow zoom as I'm doing this bit where I'm slowly describing the descent into madness.
Remember, I've seen plenty of your sets before, so like I love seeing. Like a part of this show is I have to kind of be a fan of yours too. I have to like what you've done in order to bring you on, and I know some of these bits. This is actually a lot of this is new. A lot of this you're weaving old stuff in, but a lot of it I hadn't seen before.
Yeah. Well, most of the beginning of it was stuff that's newer. The train thing, the woman like losing her mind on the train, that's pretty old at this point, but I haven't been telling it a lot.
Well, that one, I thought you were going to go into a different bit you have, which is where you're talking about, like, white people, Like,
Oh, which one?
Where you're saying, it's like, what happened. You don't want to talk about it, but Like, you think that I'm, but, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember that. No, I think you end up making, at the end of it, like, there's a case for reparations, I think, is one of the punchlines.
Oh, wow. I haven't even done that one in a while. You're talking about like the frenemy thing where it's like, that we know what you did.
Yeah.
And we know you're thinking about it. You want to pretend like it didn't happen, but we know you're thinking. We know that you know.
Yeah. That's where I thought you were going on that one. And you went a different direction.
That is one of the ones that can, like, I have this thing that I do, and it's not necessarily real, but it's a way that I like to think about, like my stories having like Lego pieces that's only, some of them lock into multiple stories, and some of them only lock into one other story, so it has to follow that other story. That's one of the ones that can come in at multiple different places and fit in a couple different places. So, like, I'm trying to write an hour. I'm trying to actually do an album at some point soon. I don't know when. I was thinking this year, but this year has gotten to the point where it's more than half over, and I haven't even begun I have the material, but I haven't begun the process of
writing it out into
putting it together in a way that I could pitch to someone as an hour that they should bother recording. Right?
That's one of the projects that's what this project started as me trying to get some of my friends to record an hour.
Yeah.
And because I was cool. like Molly Kearney and like I saw Winslow Dumaine go on stage, and he killed so hard in 5 minutes, and I was like, dude,
yeah, but
when you want to do an hour,
you got to do 12 of those.
Huh? I know. I saw, and then it turned out he already had something on Spotify, and I listened to it. I was like, do you want to re-record this? Because I will totally.
Yeah, you don't want to do it too early is the thing. If you do it too early in your time, then it becomes like a thing where it's like, it's hard to live up to that again. And I don't want to do it. I want it to be like, when I do it finally, that stuff has an arc. And because you see how I try to form a bit or form a set where like the bits have an arc to them, where it's like they're connected and they lead from one to the other, and then I get to the ending point, and it seems like a natural ending point for all of that stuff.
And that's why this was really hard to cut. I only had to cut 4 minutes because I was like, this works together.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of like just bits that are individualized. They, like I said, they kind of like Lego pieces where they lock in or they don't, and if they don't, then I have to have like a hard segue. So I like to have. And I'm not good at segues, so I like to have bits that always flow into each other, because then I don't have to remember them. Like, that's the other thing, is I don't have to do as much memorization if I'm just telling a bunch of stories that always remind me of the next story. So yeah, I guess it probably does make it hard to cut.
Every day on our show, we choose our themes.
I don't even think I did this impression particularly well on this set.
No, but they get it. It's one of those things. It's like Christopher Walken. All you need to do is to halt your voice
Right.
every once in a while
Right.
and do a weird inflection that doesn't belong there, and it's Walken.
Who decided to really taste the rainbow steak.
People were like saying that with me. There were definitely like people in that room who I didn't know who were like, before I said taste the rainbow, a woman right up front was like, oh, he's going to say taste the rainbow. And I was like, that is wild that you, I mean, it's an obvious joke, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like, the joke is not the pun there. The joke is the whole art.
Everything
because-
together. Yeah, well, it's already ridiculous, and you're just putting some icing on top.
Yeah, that is a real fucking thing. I know it seems like completely fantastical, but like,
But sometimes I have sex with people, and like,
I'll acknowledge that maybe on the day that I saw that I was going through some shit, so maybe I saw something that it wasn't like exactly what I thought I saw. But I swear to you, from my perspective, I was walking across the street and there was a dude with a yellow box of crayons, yellow and green like Crayola, and he was seriously chomping on them, like he was chomping on the crayons, and it was like I can't see that and just keep going with the rest of my day. Like that is not
What the
fair.
fuck?
I have to go back to work, you asshole. Like,
Why are you making me deal with this?
why are you doing this and not immediately telling me everything about you?
no, okay, cool. Yay!
Oh, that's right. You already used the Coxman, the Fuxman line, which is great. Like, for your first hour, you might just call it the Coxman. I don't know.
We walked out, they were like, you know, this is the first time I've been with a person, a male-identified person in years. I was like, perfect.
That happened in that room. That happened at Beauty Bar. Someone,
So you're getting nostalgic as you're telling the bit. You're like, they were right over there. Like,
yeah, someone from Salamathon was talking to me, and at a certain point, I was just like, "So yeah, what's going on? Are you like interested in, you know?" Because it's a person I knew to be like queer at the very least, and they were like, "Well, you are attractive, but I haven't been with like a man in a long time." And I was like, "I'm not really like a man."
So you did your bit right there. I'm a sweet boy.
I
Like,
mean,
that's-
it's not a bit. It's actually it's me just describing myself out loud. It sounds like a joke because I'm insane. It's not like I'm not doing a bit. Most of the time I'm literally just narrating my own life.
Coitus with a lady type human.
Like I write. The way that I end up writing jokes is mostly because I said something in a strange way that made someone like take like pause and take note of the way that I said a thing. And sometimes I'm trying to say things in a weird way, but for the most part I'm just talking like I talk. And then if somebody laughs very hard during the conversation, I
Make a note of
make
that,
a note
yeah.
of it, and then I'll end up writing about that. So like mid-coitus with a lady type human is not the way I actually speak, but it definitely came from me saying that to a friend of mine one time, and she was like, why would you describe it that way? Do you want to get fucked ever again in your life? And I was like, well, there it is. I got a bit out of it.
well, did we already get the part where your best friend laughed at you?
Not yet, I don't think so. She's actually the person I'm talking about when I said the mid-coitus thing.
And I was like, gender is a construct. I didn't say that, but what I did say was,
I try to make a point not to laugh when I'm recording for people, but
Can be
you'll
difficult.
hear me several times in this laughing behind the camera.
It's difficult. I appreciate it.
the first thing I'm going to do with these
Well, usually you'll see me
Man,
and I'll just
my
roll
arms
it.
actually do look kind of nice these days. This is like, it's kind of ruining the point of the joke.
hold you up. That's why I'm on top. Do you not understand?
So you got to be like, I'm sorry, I can't lift this. It's going to make my arms look better, and I need these for my bits. Like, I
Right.
can't
And the second thing I'm
wear like a biker compression shirt or something. So it, like,
Yeah.
are already having sex. Like, we already had sex. Like, what else did you need? Did you want something else?
I think a lot of people in this room have heard this bit a lot at this show because it was a lot of my friends there. Because for obvious reasons, it's my show and it was my birthday and all that stuff.
Because, like, I'm already fucking, like, we're fucking.
So this did not work as much as it normally works in a room full of people who don't know me. And I also I'm doing it way later in the set. I actually usually do stuff about sex like this earlier because I don't necessarily feel like it's it's not the stuff I really want to leave you with.
Yeah.
Because obviously I talk about, mental health advocacy and gender equality and feminism and race. I talk about race too. I'm not like a super political. I don't talk about Trump. I don't talk about the government, but I talk about how I feel about certain issues that matter to me. And I like talking about sex because sex is cool, but
super relatable to the audience though.
And it's a thing that disarms you at the beginning, that allows you kind of, for lack of a better term, lubricates you for the other stuff I'm about to challenge you with later. Like the more challenging shit that comes later, usually I don't lead, I lead with something just I lead with the sex stuff because it's charming and silly.
Although you're ending with Who Wants to Do Shots Now, and that's like and then Sonal with the hat. Yep.
Yeah, she almost got killed. I was backing straight up. Almost bowled her right over.
Man. All right. So next.